Macho John Ned Juanito sitting in the doorway of my tiny house in Acmal Pueblo, and I gotta get going. It's 8:30. It's a beautiful sunny day. Nice temperature now, and I go into Mirna's coffee shop every day to upload my videos. Gotta get going. But one last story about Sam. Uh, I was taught by my dear friend uh, uh, Freeman. Eric Freeman. He's the homeless black guy I took in off the street into my subsidized senior apartment. He was a big, strapping guy, rough guy. He had lived on the streets a lot, but a brilliant blues guitarist. And Asheville is the busker capital of the U.S., I'm pretty sure, more than New Orleans. And he was busking on the street, and I ran for 2 blocks to see, I got to see who this is. And we became friends. And when he ended up homeless, I took him into my apartment, and we became super, super good buddies. And he taught me the practice of bringing in girls off the street just to let them be warm overnight. I, who had never consciously ever met a hooker, who I'm sitting around with Eric and 3 women, I'm going, you never even met a hooker, and you're hanging out with 3 of them here, just having a blast, drinking beer and smoking cigarettes and talking. So he taught me that policy, and I continued it. Once I left that apartment, left Asheville, bought a camper van, 7 times over the course of 4 years on the road. I took in a girl, never to take advantage of them because they were always too vulnerable. But Sam and I had pretty amazing relationship over 10 days. She was all of 23, thought she had a diagnosis of paranoid schizophrenia, but I was sure she didn't. She wasn't, because when she dried out, she was awesome. So I promised in a previous video that I would tell the story of how I met Sam and why I was moved to get out of my comfort zone and take this strange young woman into my van. I was mostly hanging out in the mountains, but I would go back to Asheville, and over there in West Asheville, that neighborhood, I was sitting in front of an AutoZone. Now I'm realizing how karmic that is, because AutoZone has followed me right through to Mexico. I always would go to AutoZone for parts for my van and to learn local mechanics, and they never steered me wrong. I told a woman in Playa del Carmen the other day, she says, AutoZone's quoting me a big price for this part, and maybe I ought to do some shopping. I said, go with AutoZone. No, their prices are always fair. You can't beat them, and they'll send you to the right mechanics. So I was sitting in AutoZone, which was right next to Madden Ace Hardware. And my last name is Madden. So that was a pretty karmic spot to begin with. And it was the fall, and it was getting cold, getting towards dark, and I was writing. And I'm an artist, and when I'm writing, I just go into a zone. The whole world goes away, and I'm writing. And there's a knock on the window, and I look up, and it's a young woman who's looking kind of out of it. And I always liked and helped homeless people. And I've been 4 years in a van. I was technically homeless, and a total of 12 nights out on the street without a van myself. So I know homeless, hung with the homeless, always try to help, but I was writing, So I said, go away. And I went back to my writing. She didn't knock again, but she stood there, and I yelled at her. I said, go away! So she went away and walked in front of the car, and she looked so fragile and so beaten. I said, Madden, you asshole. You help that girl. So I ran out and brought her $2 and half a pack of cigarettes. She said, thank you, and started to walk again. I said, that's not enough. It's not enough. So I ran back to the car and got all the money I had at that time, which was like $40, and my other pack of cigarettes. Thank you. I said, no, that's not doing it. Okay. So I explained to her about the van. I said, you could sleep in the back. I won't touch you. I'll absolutely leave you alone. And when you've had a chance to dry out and it's warm, will take you where you want to go. And she was a little scared, but she got in the van, there's a bed in the back of the van, and she promptly fell asleep. And that's why I stepped so far out of my comfort zone, because I had been a complete asshole, felt like a real jerk, and trying to make up to her. And I will never regret, for all the craziness she put me through, I will never regret knowing Sam. She changed me. And